Welcome everyone to Dungeon Delving. We are Magic the Dungeoning, and today we are going to be talking about our top 10 favorite cards from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. These are our opinions, so please do not take these as facts. If you think we ranked a card too high or too low, or left a card off that you think should have been there, please get in the comments. Let us know what you think. Today, I am joined by Jasper, our DM, Ryan, who plays Merrick Ulbricht, our lovely editor, and Farah Cutlass Shannon, and I am your host. I am Will, and I play Calden Moon. So, guys, it goes without saying that Midnight Hunt is going to be a howling good time, but you know, hopefully we don't get bit too hard by our decisions about this. And let's just say that this list is going to be possibly a little controversial.
Quite possibly. Let's start off by talking about some of our preferences. I love the frame treatments for the set. Let's talk about those for a moment.
Sure. So up on the screen right now, you'll probably see the three frame treatments we've got here. We've got Borderless / Extended Arts, the Equinox frames, and the Eternal Night frames. So Shannon, what is your preferred frame treatment?
My preferred treatment is definitely the Equinox.
Yeah, it does look super pretty.
Yeah.
Ryan, how about you?
Equinox all day. There's no issues with the werewolves.
I personally gotta say I love the Eternal Nights. Out of any of the frame treatments they've done in like the past year, from like starting with like Call Time, I think these are my personal favorites. The Eternal Nights look so good, and I hope we get a secret layer of them at some point, because by the time Innistrad double feature rolls around, I'm going to love it. So like if we can get like.
We are a 50-50 group, as my personal frame treatment preference is also Eternal Night.
Don't get me wrong. I like both. I do. I do like both of them. The Equinox ones just sold it on, like just the attention to detail, especially around the border of the cards. That's what sold me on that. I don't disagree with you guys that the black and white, like
the Eternal Night.
Eternal Night. I blanked for a minute there for some reason. Weird. Regardless, but the Eternal Night ones, they are good too, in my opinion.
They're definitely pretty.
Yeah, I think they're both good frame treatments. I just think that the Daybound Nightbound one is less versatile, and so I think we can see more cards with Eternal Night. Like, imagine if we got like Eternal Night, like original Innistrad cards. Imagine if we got like Eternal Night Soul of Innistrad. Would look so cool. Or like any Eternal Night Avacyn. Or I mean, I guess we could get like a flip of the one Avacyn, and that would look kind of cool.
Avacyn the Archangel and Avacyn the Purifier.
Yeah, I guess that would look kind of cool. Wizards, pay attention. This is what we want. Absolutely.
But seeing these art frames for both for Midnight Hunt makes me excited for Crimson Vow. I cannot wait to see what they do with that.
I've got my prediction for the alternate frame. I feel like the same way that all the warlocks and the werewolves have the first frame treatment. I'm blanking on the name. I know we just had it like a 5 times. The Equinox frames. I feel like we're gonna get like a wedding invitation, or like these super opulent white and gold and like red. Like
I was
everyone
thinking
in like
veils.
attire.
I was thinking veils versus like tuxes almost.
Maybe. I would like to see them all like wedding visions of like this really like fancy like filigree cursive writing, and like it's just curtains and I can't wait.
I imagine the symbol that marks like the rare, mythic, and common stuff is just like a wax seal.
It's got like the Markov or Valderin wax seal.
That would be cool.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hopefully we aren't disappointed. Even better, hopefully we're right.
All right, so talk about frame treatments and everything. Going back and forth, what could be seen in Crimson Vow, what we've seen already in Midnight Hunt, what we like. Mechanics, though. We gotta talk about the mechanics. There's new as always.
Right.
There's some good ones going this set.
Yeah.
I think like the first big mechanic, the midnight hunt mechanic, the big one is the daybound nightbound mechanic seen on a couple werewolves and the planeswalker Arlen Cord. I think she does a good job of representing it. You're probably going to see it on screen now, but for audio onlys, I'll explain it. Daybound Nightbound is a mechanic that takes place on double-faced cards, werewolves. If you've played Magic before, you know how werewolves work. But these are different from their previous Innistrad incarnations, where now Daybound Nightbound are keywords. Daybound is, if a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night the next turn. However, when it's night, the Nightbound cards enter the battlefield on their Nightbound side, as opposed to most werewolves from previous sets where they would have to transform and the night wasn't a thing. However, conversely, with Nightbound, if a player casts at least 2 spells during their own turn, it becomes day the next turn, and so the previous Daybound rules take place, and they will enter on the battlefield as their Daybound side. I think this is a fantastic fix for werewolves overall, and I wish somehow they were able to errata it, because goddamn,
I don't think they can, but this is definitely a much more streamlined version.
Yes.
I definitely double thumbs up. Wizards nailed it.
Right, and not to say that the old transform mechanic is going to be bad for a commander deck. Like, I can tell you right now, this is one of the cards I got spoiled. I am so happy about because I've been waiting for this. He immediately, as soon as he got revealed, he became my commander. I'm trying to tiptoe around it, but forget it. I'm going to spoil it a little bit early. It's Tolar. Yes, Tolar is. I have been waiting for this type of commander since Innistrad was a thing. Like, I wanted to build werewolves as a commander deck for quite a long time now, and Tolar came in and said, "So, I hear you like werewolves." I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah, no, definitely good. My only concern with Daybound and Nightbound overall is that in like 5 years, when people are playing this game and someone like you is like, I'm getting to Magic and play werewolves, they're going to assume that all werewolves that transform have the Daybound Nightbound, and so it might get a little funny. The same way that like I think this is the reason why there wasn't a werewolf commander deck, because they'll run into this issue.
Yeah.
Sadly, yes, I do agree that I would have wished Tolar would have been the commander deck, but the 2 commander decks that got released,
not approachable for new players.
It's not. It would honestly. New players would.
There are a lot of Daybound Nightbound cards in this set, and reading the Celestis gave me a eyes glazed over for a few moments.
We'll talk about that in a possible future video. I think the thing we're gonna move on to next is the next mechanic that came out in Innistrad Midnight Hunt is Disturb, and Disturb is a mechanic that when a card with Disturb is in your graveyard, at sorcery speed, you can pay its Disturb cost and return it back to the battlefield on its transformed side. And that card and that ability is best represented by Denic Pious Apprentice and Denic Pious Apparition. They both do different things, but he does have a Disturb cost. He's a blue and a white for a 2/3 human knight, I believe.
Cleric?
I didn't. He's a 2/3 with lifelink, and cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. His Disturb cost is 2 blue and a white, and then when he comes back as Denic Pious Apprentice, whenever a creature card goes into a graveyard from anywhere, Investigate. This ability activates only once per turn.
He's
Investigate
a soldier.
He's a soldier, really.
Human
that's
soldier,
right. He's a Cathar.
Spirit soldier.
So Investigate is very quickly just an ability that when you investigate, you create a clue artifact token, which is pay 2, tap, sacrifice the clue, draw a card. It's an interesting mechanic. It's an interesting mechanic.
Flashback, but for people.
And then most of those cards, to my knowledge, have when this creature would die, exile it instead.
In fact,
it comes back with like a second life.
It's like they're a ghost, but if a ghost dies, I mean, we've met Kaya.
Yeah.
Also
true. Sadly.
And we've met Kaikar, who just goes, spirits sack.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I guess if you really wanted to, you could put like Kaikar could like have Decayed in him, Disturb in him. Decade's the next mechanic we're talking about. Kaikar plus Disturb. Interesting. I'll definitely put some thought into that. Maybe.
Ryan,
Maybe.
why don't you talk?
Right.
Ryan,
Speaking
why
of
don't you mention the
Decayed.
next mechanic for us?
Yep. So as Jasper just mentioned, the next mechanic that is a big thing in Innistrad, Midnight Hunt, is Decayed, which is simply Decayed is an ability for where you can spawn a 2/2 zombie and it cannot block, and when it attacks, you sacrifice it at the end of combat. So not bad. Two cards that come to mind when I think of Decayed for good creature cards. One is Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia, where his ability is at the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, you create a 2/2 black zombie with Decayed. So it doesn't give you blockers, but it does give you attackers. Yes, you lose them at the end of turn, but they're also good for good sack outlets too. So like Yawgmoth, I could use Decayed cards in Yawgmoth, no problem. It's just more sack fodder. Aristocrats will love this. Honestly, love this mechanic in my opinion.
Honestly.
Yeah, this is a pretty straightforward ability. There's not really much to mention about it.
This one is like
You make zombies, they're decaying,
They're
so
flimsy.
like they hit you and they fall apart, or like they don't last long,
Exactly.
so like they fall apart at the end of turn. It's all good stuff.
And Shannon, what is the final big new keyword that is coming out for Innistrad?
Well, I'm excited for
Girls'
this
night, girls' night, girls' night.
mechanic called Coven. It's a keyword that requires you have 3 creatures with different powers. When you meet this condition, you usually get some kind of benefit, or you'll be able to activate certain abilities. This is most certainly best represented by Sigarda, Champion of Light. But yes, GNO. GNO.
Yeah, Coven was actually spoiled back in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms when somebody accidentally got Lenore, Autumn's Sovereign.
Yeah, this card was
in their commander
leaked
deck
a long time ago.
Yeah. When we say long time ago, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms was like last month.
Listen.
was July.
Magic sets
It was
come
July,
out
so
so
2 months ago.
fast that,
In terms of
like,
magic sets, it was a long time
in
ago.
terms of Magic release dates, like it was like 12 years ago. Listen, we've had the whole like showcase for like the entire next year going on for Magic. We've talked about like everything coming on 2021, 2022. It's been a while.
Yeah, and Coven. At first, I thought Coven, when I first read it, was like a combat thing, because a lot of them say at the beginning of combat,
Even
if you control 3
Sigarda
creatures
says
with different
combat, right?
powers. No, Sigarda says when she attacks. I believe there is a Cathar. There's
Lenore
a farmer.
says at the beginning of combat.
Well, Lenore says at the beginning of combat, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and then if you control 3 creatures with different powers, draw a card.
It's Battalion for the ladies.
It's all over the place. There's one that's a card. It's got Coven that transforms. If you control 3 or more creatures, pay a cost and flip it.
Yeah, all cool stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how good Coven is going to be, and like it's you need at least 3 creatures, and I think any mechanic that requires more than 1 or 2 cards to work is always teetering on a certain edge.
Clunky sometimes.
Yeah, like I mean, how many times have you had creatures like you could have like a billion creatures on board, but like how many of the times do you have like a billion creatures and they're all like, oh, they're all 2/2 zombie tokens or whatever.
Right.
With Coven, it's like
I
you have
mean,
to have like 3 unique things.
My argument for that would be something along the lines of like Sigarda herself. She's a 4/4. You could play Thalia's Lieutenant, who is a 1/1 that gets a +1/+1 counter when a human enters.
Like yeah, there are ways around it.
You could have Sigarda, who's a 4/4, Thalia's Lieutenant, and then play Join the Dance, which is a card from this set, and bring in 2 1/1s. Thalia's Lieutenant gets 2 +1/+1 counters, and now you have a 4 power, a 3 power, and 2 1 powers. You have 3 creatures with different powers, so you get to cover.
You're right. Yeah, I think it's like one of those things.
I don't
like,
think it's that difficult. I just think it's odd.
I think it's much like
Well,
any sort of mechanic.
GNO, but still.
I think it's going to be one of those things where we have to have it in our hands and play with it to see how strong it actually is.
Agreed.
Speaking
What were
of
you gonna say,
strength,
Shannon?
As long as it has more support than freaking mutate, I'm all for it. Because like mutate, I tried to really get behind mutate because I was like, oh, this is so cool, and then it's like, but wait, where do I go from here?
Yeah, mutate was.
I don't know.
I think there's more opportunities for this mechanic to be.
Listen. Mutate required you to have creatures that mutate. Coven just requires you to have creatures with more than one kind of power.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But
what do you think is like the best mechanic going out of like the new ones? Decayed, Disturb.
The mechanic I'm most looking forward to is Disturb, but I think the best one out of there is Daybound, Nightbound.
Absolutely.
When they went with a werewolf set, they needed to streamline it, then knocked it out. It
was the one mechanic. I'd say it's the one mechanic in a long time that they could not let be bad, and golf claps. Honestly,
I would. I'm sorry if the werewolf mechanic didn't get fixed, I would have been so disappointed.
There would have been riots in the street outside Washington D.C.
Let's not go there.
No, there would be riots in Seattle where their headquarters is, okay?
Yeah, in Washington, D.C., right?
We don't need to throw the actual people under the bus here.
Anyway, we're also like mentioned earlier, we do have like the two returning mechanics of the flashback and investigate, which, Innistrad staples. They always have returning mechanics. Flashback is, of course, an Innistrad mainstay. Investigate's an Innistrad mainstay from, I believe, Shadows of Innistrad and Eldritch Moon. Glad to see him back, but, they're not too well represented as the new mechanics because, they gotta make way.
Hey, give me flashback any day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Give me investigate any day.
I have Savin from the Commander 19 flashback deck. I've got Elsha. Give me it.
Yeah, I know. Casting from graveyards is decent.
One of my favorite mechanics.
So good.
So, go ahead.
Oh, we're just going to move on to the next segment, which is honorable mentions.
Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah. Top 10 time.
Why don't you start off with honorable mention number uno?
Honorable mention number 1 has got to be Moon Silver Key. This thing is an uncommon and is going to be underrated. It is 2 mana for an artifact. You pay 1, you sacrifice it, and you search your library for an artifact with a mana ability or a basic land card. Put that card in your hand, shuffle. That is good in any situation. 3 mana, go fetch your artifact that you need to give you your mana colors. Because, this is the thing is, 3 mana, go fetch Chromatic Lantern, which I hate. Go fetch Chromatic Lantern, go fetch Soul Ring, go fetch Arcane Signet, go fetch the Celestis, or go fetch one of your basic lands and fix your colors.
Yeah. All good stuff. I think there are probably combos and stuff we're not thinking of. Like if you've got rings on board, and you are going to need to go fetch like a Basalt Monolith, this card, just sack it, get your Basalt Monolith, get your infinite mana. You know what happens after that. Cowabunga.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you 100% Moon Silver Key is definitely going in.
Go fetch your mana dorks.
Go fetch. Yeah.
Or go
does
fetch
it say non-artifact creatures or non-creature artifacts?
No, it just says an artifact with a mana ability. I believe.
So you can just go fetch anything
for an artifact card with a mana ability. Yeah, go fetch your mana dorks.
Go get your infinite combo.
Yeah. If you got like a Mycosynth
as long as it requires mana, but yes.
Go fetch anything that taps for mana.
Like, I don't know, Umbral Mantle.
Oh, you could go fetch Kark Clan Ironworks with this.
You
can fetch the altars.
Yep, there are potential. Like it's crazy.
Didn't they release those new artifact lands?
Pathways here.
You can get your Staff of Domination.
Oh,
Staff of Domination does not have a mana ability.
You pay mana into it, but it doesn't have a mana ability.
Oh, what? Never mind. I lied.
Oh well. Anyway,
I think the best use of this is going to fetch something along the lines of if you're an EDH, go fetching a Signet, your Arcane Signet, your Soul Ring, I think if you're not in those formats, going to fetch a Mana Dork who's an artifact creature.
Go ahead and
solid.
enjoy your ginger boots.
I play a
guess.
Tazri party deck. I would go fetch Stonework Pack Beast with this because he counts as an entire party.
Yep. All good stuff.
All right. So I think we've talked about that enough. Honorable mention number 2, Jasper?
Honorable mention 2 is going to be a little bit of a cop-out, but I think you'll understand when I say that the honorable mention number 2 is going to be the new rare land cycle that we've coined as the hunt lands for the set. We
coined them, but we're calling them.
Yeah, we're
lands.
calling them hunt lands. I'm sure we coined the term. We were the first to use it. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
The hunt lands are Deserted Beach, Haunted Ridge, Overgrown Farmland, Rockfall Vale, and Shipwreck Marsh. And they all share the same keyword ability, more or less. The card name enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, and then they tap for their associated colors. They are the allied pairs, so that's white-blue, Azorius, black-red, Rakdos, green-white over green-white, Selesnya, red-green, Ghoul, and then blue-black, Dimir. What do we think?
These are pretty good. I would say, the more I think about them, the more I'm like, these. When I first saw these, I was like, these are going to be $30 lands. These are going to be like good $5 lands. I don't think they're going to be super expensive. I don't think they're going to be super cheap. The fact that they do not require basic lands like the other check lands do, for example, like I believe Sulphur Falls is the red-blue one that you need 2 or more basics.
Yes.
Radiant Tango lands, as they're called.
Prairie Stream.
Because it takes 2 to tango.
So, like, these just require 2 other lands. You could have a high market and a basic. You could have Mistress Factory. You could have Mistress Factory and Urza's Workshop, and then this, and you're good. Like, these are just solid lands.
You could play, your Urza's Mine, your Urza's Tower, and then say you need like a blue mana to fetch for your Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant. Yeah, good stuff.
These lands are good. They definitely serve a huge purpose, and honestly, you pull any of those in pre-release, that's going to help you.
Oh yeah, gas.
Yeah.
Definitely good and sealed. Definitely good and sealed.
Step on the gas.
Well, with our honorable mentions out of the way, I think it's time we get onto the actual list. And Ryan, before I get too furious, what is our number 10?
Bad pun. Number 10 for us here is Tolar, Dire Overlord. And he is everything I wanted in a werewolf commander. To our listeners, anyone who watches, I campaigned so hard again, like to get him higher up in this list. I really did.
Seriously, go ahead and watch our reaction vid to his reveal. And we're all frothing at the mouth, of course, but just go through and watch Ryan's face. Go ahead.
This man.
So, and then Ryan, he has the Daybound Nightbound. What is his Nightbound side?
His Nightbound side is Tolar, the Midnight Scourge. Or Scourge?
Scourge.
I believe it's Scourge.
Scourge.
I think both
the Scourge Diva?
I think it's
Scourge Diva.
I believe it could be either. Yeah. Regardless.
Tolar, Midnight.
Tolar, the Midnight.
The Midnight S word.
Regardless. So
the Midnight Hunt.
So on Tolar's Daybound side, he has the card as follows. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Red-green, draw a card. That's solid. It is combat damage, but there's ways to get creatures through, especially with red-green. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more wolves and or werewolves, it becomes night. Then transform any number of human werewolves you control. And he power toughness 3/3.
So something I missed the first time I read this guy is I was like, well, yeah, he makes it night. He gets around the Nightbound mechanic. That secondary line allows him to transform older werewolves as well. He just gets around the spell casting. He transforms the old werewolves too.
So
like,
and that's
he is
again
the perfect werewolf commander.
Yes, and that is why I campaigned so hard.
Honestly, I just like I look at Ulrich and I'm like, listen, Ulrich, you've been working for this company for a long time, but buddy, sorry, we just
So
interviewed
funny enough-
Tolar. He's overqualified as heck. You're gonna be his assistant now.
Yeah, so funny enough, I actually
Assistant.
mentioned
You're going to be his assistant from the welfare line.
Ulrich's just
I
the
said
secretary
the
now.
bill, like, and when we were talking about this before this video and everything, I told him I'm still going to include Ulrich in the 99.
Yeah,
like
there's no reason
he
not to.
absolutely
He's
should.
still great.
Ulrich is still, in a sense, as a creature card, he's good. Unfortunately, as a commander, he sucks.
We should read the other side,
and
though.
Yes, I have that up in front of me here right now. And then so for Tolar's Nightbound side is whenever Wolf or Werewolf you control deals combat damage, you draw a card that stays on both sides, so you keep the card draw, which
would really, really stink if you lost that.
I mean, they've done it before. We've seen cards transform, and they've done different. But this one, you can pay red, green, and X. Target wolf or werewolf you control gets +X/+0 and gains trample till end of turn.
Instant speed.
So he's Kessick Wolf Run on a stick with card draw. I mean, you've got this guy's your straightforward werewolf commander. Play play Pyreheart Wolf, play Immer Wolf.
I am.
It should be clear though. Immer Wolf will not stop the Daybound Nightbound transformation.
No, it will not. It will not.
Honestly.
Still though, I'm literally using Scryfall or whichever deck building site you use. Scryfall, I use. I believe it's what is the other? I can't remember the other one I use. I think it's Moxfield. Is the other one I use.
EDH Rec.
EDH Rec I use. I don't net deck really. I do build all my decks on my own. But I already have decks being built for him. Like, I am waiting for him to drop. I am hoping I get him in pre-release, which I'm looking forward to. If I pull him in pre-release, I'm sorry, I'm telling you right now, I'm running Wolves.
I think we've talked enough about our number 10.
Tolar's just, we were expecting
Tolar's
a steak. And Tolar showed up, gave us like steak, meat, potatoes, collard greens.
A whole meal.
He
didn't need to be that good, but he is. Anyway,
the only thing that's missing is the mac and cheese.
Yeah, that's the Celestis.
But yes,
moving
on,
I think he's great. Shannon, what's our number 9?
Yes. So up next we have Hostile.
Say that 10
/
times fast.
Creeping in. So it is a land card. You can tap to add colorless mana, or you can pay 1, tap it, sacrifice a creature, put a soul counter on Hostile. Then if there are 3 or more soul counters on it, remove those counters, transform it, and then untap it. Activate as only a sorcery. And then on the backside, when it's transformed, it says, whenever Creeping In attacks, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of creature card exiled with Creeping In.
Now, this is when we look at Wizards naming conventions, and the guy who wrote this deserves a raise.
Right?
The Hostile and the Creeping In is beautiful. And we will actually talk about this card later with something Ryan and I discussed actually yesterday.
We were having a time with that.
It's fun.
So,
it's very fun. I love when Wizards make puns for
just
cards.
Good. Biggest downside to this card, its color identity is technically black.
Oof. Sorry,
yes, it is, because unfortunately the back of the card is actually black.
Yes, that is the biggest downside of that. Besides the fact, it's a 3/7, and it can phase itself out for 4 mana.
Why is it black?
So if you noted, excellent question, Shannon. For everyone out there who has ever seen cards like this, we'll throw up 2 examples on screen if Jasper does not mind, because he's editing this video.
I'll use Chandra and Chandra. No,
we are going to use
Avacyn
Archangel and Avacyn the Purifier, along with Hostile, and Creeping In. When you look at a card that has got a backside that has no mana cost to it, you have to look at the small circle that is next to that creature's subtype. So if you look on Creeping In, The creeping in has got a small black circle next to where it says artifact creature. That means it is actually considered a black card. And in Commander, we look at both sides to determine color identity.
You'll actually see this card. You'll actually see this mechanic on any werewolf ever. The mana cost is only on the front side.
If you look at Avacyn Archangel versus Avacyn the Purifier, Avacyn's front side is white. But because her backside is red, she is actually considered a white-red card for color identity. So, hostile. Yep, even though hostile, the front side is a colorless card. Unfortunately, the backside causes it to have a color identity of black. But if you're not playing Commander, i.e., you're playing in a format that does not care about color identity,
Cowabunga.
play this. You can play.
Because
Tolar
has it on his backside too. I just noticed that.
Yeah, and there are a couple of the werewolves that are like white
side.
that turn red, or like they're like green that turn red, or like white that turn blue, or white that turn green, or whatever have you. It's all over the set.
So
And
that was an excellent rules question.
Nice aside. Thank you very much for people who don't know.
All in all, solid card. It is a sack outlet, unfortunately, at sorcery speed. The 3 soul counters is not terrible. Any black deck that can do any kind of proliferate, such as Yawgmoth, can make this happen in 2 creatures instead of 3.
Or if you get any way to proliferate.
A 3/7 is a relevant creature.
Yeah, not bad. Especially a creature that can just, every time it attacks, it just bops you for damage, regardless if you block or not.
Hey, I'm going to block your 2/2 Death Toucher with Infect and phase out.
Nice.
You're still blocked.
Nice.
Lit.
I think we should move on to the next one. Since I think Shannon was so excited about this card in particular, number 8 on our list, I've got to let her just read this one as well.
Are you sure? Because I remember a certain someone in our reaction video had a much bigger reaction.
Listen.
I had time to simmer.
Listen, one of you just read the card.
He had time to simmer in the crock pot. It's okay.
Go ahead, Shannon, why don't you read this card? You read them.
Right.
So
number 8 is the lovely Sigarda, Champion of Light. And her text says, flying, trample. Humans you control get +1/+1. And then she has the new mechanic, Coven. When Sigarda attacks, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a human creature card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Solid card.
I mean,
that's a commander.
She's
that's
solid.
A human
She's a
champion.
Flying trample is
Lord?
really tough to deal with.
It's a weird flavor combo, but it is also a really aggressive thing to deal with.
Yeah.
By the way, we had a discussion as to what the top of her staff is. It's a heron.
Mm-hmm.
And that explains host of herons.
Yes, which is a bird.
I feel like there's like some guy that comes with like, duh, of course it's a heron.
A heron's the shape that's on the moon in Innistrad.
And we're like, yeah, sorry, we didn't know because no one ever checked. But
I don't think there's much to say about this card. It is a solid card. It's good.
Oh yeah.
I think you're running this card, leading a human deck in Commander, and realistically, if you're putting this in your deck, the Anthem's nice. She's only 4 mana, which is not difficult to pay,
especially in these colors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm thinking about building her. I don't know.
I think all around solid choice.
Yeah, I think since most other cards with Coven are humans as well, she's going to fit in really nice with other Coven triggers. Mm-hmm. It's clean, it's nice, it's fresh. Thank you, Sigarda, for arriving in the set. Can't wait to see you on the EDH table.
We went from red-green to green-white to mono-white with our next card. Ryan, what is our number 7?
So number 7 is Vanquish the Horde. It is 2 white and 6 mana, and it's a sorcery spell, and it costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield.
Okay.
To destroy all creatures. People are comparing this to Blasphemous Act.
Mm-hmm.
It's white blasphemous.
It is white though. I still personally say I think this is better. Correction, actually.
They are
either way.
In my personal opinion, they're tied.
I think
right, because here's my
balance each other
argument.
out for different reasons.
Right. So you look at Blasphemous Act. It's I believe one red and 10.
Yes.
Or
One red and 9.
9. That's what it was. Okay, it was
10 mana, 13 damage.
Deals 13 damage. Most of the time, that is going to kill everything on the board, and I mean everything. There's going to be sometimes there are those one-offs that that someone has that one creature that like big 2020. Look at you, Bill.
You've popped off with Sangir the Dark Baron or Thraxamunder, and you're just like a 40 Merit Lodge.
Merit Lodge is indestructible. He's surviving both these board wipes.
Oh yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah,
but I know what you mean.
Progenitus.
A boon sometimes survives, depending on
That's true.
how high his toughness is.
I definitely can agree. If I'm running it, like, if I had a choice between Blasphemous or Vanquish, I could go either way with this because they both get the job done. The only thing I think the dual white pips is what does kill it for me. I think it knocks it a little bit less under Blasphemous.
I mean, counter argument.
2 white for a Wrath of God?
6 creatures at 6 creatures on the board. That spell is only 2 white mana.
Fair.
At 6 creatures on the board for Blasphemous is still 3.
True.
So yeah, I think Blasphemous has a.
By the way, Blasphemous is red and 8 because it's 9 mana.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that it's like one has a higher ceiling and a lower floor. The other one has a lower floor and a higher ceiling. So I think they balance each other out, and that's sort of like doesn't make them the same-ish card.
So,
but hey,
any board wipe that can be discounted mana is a
board wipe.
I would pay 2 white mana for a Wrath of God. I think anyone would.
I mean, last time I casted Blasphemous, I only spent 1 red mana.
And that's the point. This is White's version of that.
You cast Blasphemous, and it gave me the game.
Yeah, I know. Let's not talk about it.
I know. We can talk about it later. So just a little tidbit.
On the next game, though.
Yeah, a little tidbit about this card. When it first got leaked, and after that, we can move on to number 6. When this card first got leaked, it wasn't correctly translated. So on Scryfall, I looked at the card, and it said Augur is tired of your shit. I was dying.
I would have loved if that was the actual name of the card. Audric's tired of this.
Audric is done.
You know what? I will say enough about that. Jasper, why don't we talk about number 6?
Number 6. It's going to be the first blue card on our list. It is Leer, Disciple of the Drowned. For 3 blue, he is a legendary creature, human wizard with 3 power and 4 toughness.
I thought it was a she.
Am
I crazy?
Yes. I don't know. Leer is
this
a very
human wizard.
Name. This human wizard, first line of text, spells can't be countered, so hits the board. It's cowabunga time. And he continues on to say, each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost.
Flashback very quickly is you may cast a card from your graveyard for its flashback cost. If it would go into a graveyard from anywhere this turn, exile it instead, which means all those pretty blue spells you were casting now can be recast for their same exact mana cost.
I personally think this card is crazy. I've been thinking long and hard about the potential for this creature, and I'm thinking
the potential is nuts.
Yeah. I think you play it down, and most people go, oh, well, it's 5 mana. It's 5 mana, so you're not going to be able to do much on your turn. Counterpoint, you're running this in like an Izzet or like a Jeskai or any sort of spell slinger deck. You're going to be running like, you're going to be running Pyretic Ritual, Jeska's Will. So I think you get this down, and then you immediately hold priority, play Jeska's Will or whatever, and you just start ritualing yourself because all your rituals are already in your graveyard. And so after that, if you haven't won by just like casting your graveyard, what are you doing?
True.
This is a 5 mana blue version of effectively Underworld Breach, which is really, really scary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's on a creature.
Yep.
This is if you take Arcane Melee and Underworld Breach and then turn it up a bit.
Yeah. Is a flashback cost typically like more in terms of the mana cost?
Usually more, sometimes the same,
Varies.
sometimes less. It depends.
It does vary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because let me see if I actually have a.
Because like I've seen most where like it's just more, so like.
Here we go.
Maybe this is better because it's like it's like less.
Oh,
mana.
this is absolutely better.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So here's one example. I actually have my flashback deck right in front of me, funny enough, because I'm reconstructing it. Increasing Vengeance. Increasing Vengeance is normally 2 red mana, but you can flash it back for 2 red and 3. So yes, it is generally more, but there are ways to reduce it. Card immediately comes to mind for flashback, Catalyst Stones. Reduces it by 2. I have it in my flashback deck. It was a godsend when this deck first came out in Commander 19, and I put that in there like almost immediate.
I think Leer goes really nicely in any deck that cares about cards leaving the graveyard, any deck that cares about flashback, any sort of like heavy spell slinger deck. This guy comes down and he just ends games potentially.
Yeah,
assuming that like
definitely potential's there.
Yeah, it's because like your opponents go, oh, well, I'm just gonna counter whatever you have, and I'm like, Leer's already down. You had your chance. It's over.
You kill Leer, or no, it's going.
I mean, also counterintuitively, so you cast a Leer, and then someone goes,
"Ooh, yay! My spells can't be countered.
My spells can't be countered either. I'm gonna flash in Vidalcanori or whatever, and then I'm gonna go off." And you go, "Oh wait, no, this isn't according to plan."
Yeah, you definitely need instant. You definitely need instant speed sack outlets with her in the deck to get rid of her quickly if you need to,
or something like that. Blue's got a lot of flicker effects, so just get her off the board.
Yep.
You could also play spells like Summary Dismissal, which exiles spells. That ain't countering.
No, it ain't.
Yeah. Anyway,
Summary Dismissal, exile all abilities and spells all to stack.
Love Leer. She's going in my Make Storm Great Again deck because that deck wasn't ham bone enough.
Oh, she's literally going right into take her from the top.
Okay. Yeah. Very good card. Very good card. I think we should move on.
We can move on now. Number 5.
Had my fun.
All right, Ryan. I think number 5 is definitely calling your name, I feel.
Indeed, because this card has an ability that's one of my personal favorites because I have both cards in existence that actually do this. So number 5 is Augur of Autumn. It is a 2/3 creature human druid for 2 green and 1. Has the ability, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands from the top of your library. And it has Coven, which is as long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. This card, I don't know what it is with the card, like them printing the cards. First was Elshawood looking at the top card of your library at any time. And you could play artifact and non-land, non-creature cards as though they had flash. So it gave sorcery speed cards flash, which was great. Now you have Golea, that basically is the same thing. Doesn't have the flash mechanic, because that would be broken with the equipments and auras. But yes, and now this is the third card where now it includes
there are
creatures.
Tons like, Melek, Mystic Forge.
Oh,
Purge
absolutely.
Rangers.
Yeah, there are tons that do it.
But these are specifically creature cards I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And every
this is going in Atla 100%.
Augur of Autumn's going to slot into Golea no problem.
Saskia.
Yeah. Augur of this card can go in
Neoplasm.
so many decks.
This
any
card,
green deck, this card is.
like Oracle of Moldiah sees play in a ton of green decks, and this effectively does the same thing and can cast creatures off the top.
Yeah, it's a good card.
Given you have to have the Covenant ability, which can be taken away if someone kills a creature, yes, but you can always get it back. It's not like if it's gone, it's gone forever.
Conversely, it's not like the City's Blessing, but
correct.
Hey, we're always going to have more creatures to play.
Yeah, once you get City's Blessing, you've got it. There's no way to get rid of it.
Biggest downside is the fact that you can lose Coven, so you can lose that third ability.
Agreed, yes. And again,
but you could also just lose Augur of Autumn and lose the ability.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly.
I think good card, great card. Gonna see play in every format. But I think before we move to number 4, I think we should just take a little bit aside, talk about our personal faves before we get to our top 4.
Cards that didn't make the list, you mean?
Yeah, cards that didn't make a list. Yes. Our personal honorable mentions. I'll start us off. Personally, my favorite card from the set is, non-surprisingly, a vampire. I will choose Florian Valderin Scion. He is, for 1, black-red, a legendary creature vampire noble with First Strike. And at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. Exile one of those cards, and you put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may play the exiled card this turn. And when I saw this card, first I thought, hot. Second, I thought, prosper. I just bought that deck. So now I've got some modifications to make. Florian is a very good vampire, and all the better to have him in the most annoying deck I own.
Yeah, that ability is kind of nutty. I think he's cool.
Yeah.
Ryan, why don't you go next?
Mine that didn't make the list was Moonville Region, which is a 4/4 dragon creature. Surprise! The Dragon Master talking about dragons again.
Listen. I talked about a vampire. Let's.
Yeah. Moonville Region, I think, is a very good card. It is 1 red and 3 for a 4/4 dragon creature with flying, and then it has the two abilities. As first one is whenever you cast a spell, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw a card for each of that spell's colors. So honestly, in a Wooburg deck, it's not bad. If you have your creature that has Wooburg, play a spell, discard your hand, draw 5 cards. Really, it can help refuel a hand in that regards if you're hurting for card draw. The other card, the other part of the card is that when Moonville Region dies, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. So at minimum, it's doing 1. At max, 5. Solid card, in my opinion, for 4 mana for a 4/4 that can help you refuel your hand if you need it, or also deal damage if it gets killed, depending on what the creatures are on the field and everything. I think it's a solid dragon card.
Shannon, what is your personal favorite card that didn't make the list?
My personal favorite is Storm the Festival.
Why? What does it do?
Well, good question. It is a sorcery, and it says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put up to 2 permanent cards with mana value 5 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Genesis Ultimatum, but busted.
Yep. It's just green getting everything it needs again.
Yay! 5 mana, whatever. I don't know. List like any 5 mana value green card.
Exactly. That thing's bonkers.
Go.
I'm excited.
Or does it
Says the green player.
It could just be like any 5 mana creature. I don't know. Yeah. I chaos warped your commander. If it's under 5 mana, he's back now, maybe, or whatever. Just
how funny would that be? You cast warp a commander and it's someone's commander in their deck, and they shuffle, and you cut the deck, and they reveal commanders right on top.
Or they immediately cast the sorcery, and then they get their commander, and then like 3 other things.
Yep.
Well, my personal favorite card that is coming out of this set, and a card that I need like 8 copies of, is Rite of Harmony. It is 2 mana, green and a white for an instant. Whenever a creature or enchantment enters the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card, and it flashes back for 2 green and a white. Imagine for the rest of the turn, after you spend only 2 mana, every creature and enchantment says draw a card on it.
Just no.
Also, I'm more so thinking of like, I play Saskia, I could play Rite of Harmony and then tap for 5 and play Increasing Devotion, and that's 7 mana, spawn 5 1/1s, draw 5 cards.
That's pretty clean, though.
Increasing Devotion is no joke.
That is bonkers.
Hey guys, thank you for making it this far into the episode. We here at Magic the Dungeon are very grateful for any of our content that you watch and support, so please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to turn your board sideways and hit that notification bell.
Knock that temple bell. Everyone draw a card.
Deal combat damage to that bell.
Remove that bell from the board. Cast a Vindicate on my fucking comment section. I don't know. Anyway,
so where are we at now?
What's our number 4 before I get too heated about nothing?
Well, we had Sigarda, Champion of Light, and we're coming in with, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Lysa, Forgotten Archangel. She's 2 white, black for a 4/5 angel. Y'all thought she was dead from Commander Legends. Joke's on you. She has flying and lifelink, and whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead.
It's Orjov AF, and I'm here for it. This card's great.
It is.
I don't think we need to explain why it's number 4 on our list.
Yep,
No,
it's white-black Reanimator and white-black opponent
Graveyard
creature.
hate.
She's got Leyline of the Void on her text box.
She hits the board if I'm playing Yawgmoth. She needs to die fast.
Hey, nice mill strategy. Be a shame if it got worse.
It's so rough because there's so many things where like you can cycle a creature coming back to life, like Nim Deathmantle, where when a creature dies, you can pay 2 black and bring it back. So she's just like, oh yeah, sack. I'm gonna activate Nim Deathmantle. I'm gonna kill Nim Deathmantle. Cool, my creature doesn't come back, but it still comes back to hand.
My favorite thing about Lisa from an inset perspective is that Lisa goes, nice zombie strategy or nice spirit strategy. Stop.
Really does.
Be a shame if that would go away.
Be a shame
Hey,
if
you thought your disturb mechanic would be cool? No.
Yeah, no. Nice decayed stuff. Go away.
Well,
Yeah,
we got into our top 4, but Jasper, take us into our top
number 3. So, starting off our top 3 is going to be the Meathook Massacre Worm, or just the Meathook Massacre for people who aren't me. It is a legendary enchantment for X black. When the Meathook Massacre enters the battlefield, exile each creature gets -X until end of turn. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain 1 life. It's Massacre Worm, and it comes down hot, hard, and it's not a removable creature this time.
The reason why this is so high on our list, in my personal opinion, is because there is a lot of cards that do things like that. Sir Conrad the Grim.
Yep.
You've got Bastion of Remembrance. You've got, Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, and those cards are all pretty recent.
But none of them are a board wipe.
On top of that, besides Blood Artist and Zulaport, none of them are this cheap, and enchantments are way harder to remove. You could just play this for 2 black and have the synergies. Like Teysa Karlov. Loves this card.
It's great. I think
Yawgmoth. Honestly, Yawgmoth loves this card.
I think this card's extremely versatile. You could play it turn 2, be pretty happy with any number of black legendary creatures. You could play it turn 10 and be like, oh hey, so I'm just gonna win based on the triggers about to happen when I cast this for 12.
Yep.
So any card that's like starts off, can start low, be good, come in high, be amazing.
And you got to figure with this, once the spell resolves, if you do pay into the X ability and get the minuses, any creatures that die, your opponent's are just immediately going to start getting drained. You're going to start getting up in life.
Yeah.
Show me them gains, bro. Meathook Massacre.
And then you follow this up with a Massacre Worm, or you follow this up with a Massacre Girl, and then just if they weren't gone already, they're gone now.
Bye-bye. This card in sealed is going to destroy.
So we've got a legendary, we've got a creature that we've got. So what do you think the next Massacre card's going to show? Because now we've got 3 cards with the word Massacre in it that all do the same thing. I want to see a Massacre
when we go back
artifact,
to Ravnica for the 8th
land.
When we go back to Ravnica for the 8th time, we're going to get Massacre Girl redo.
We're gonna get Massacre. We're gonna get Mask of Massacre Girl.
We're gonna get
be an
Judith
artifact.
the Massacre Girl.
We're gonna get Massacre.
We're just
Girl.
gonna combine 2 cards.
Yeah, I don't. Who cares? We'll see. I want to see a Massacre land, and I want to see a Massacre artifact. I want to see a Massacre Planeswalker. Obnixilis the Massacrer.
Oh no.
The Massacre.
The Massacre. I don't know. Who
there
knows?
You go.
Cards?
No, there you go. That's Obnixilis the Massacrer is New Capenna.
Oh. Yeah, there we go. There he is. That's the prediction. We're gonna get Obnixilis the Massacre.
Obnixilis the Mob Massacre.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Oh God.
I will say I am curious of what he's doing there, but that's for another
we'll
video.
Get to that. You'll see the video in
All right.
July.
So that was number 3. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. Bill, take us all for number 2.
I would be delighted. Sometimes on the battlefield in D&D campaigns, you come up against somebody you never thought you'd ever have that much trouble facing. Your adversary. And that's because our number 2 is the adversary cycle. These 5 are all so good that we could not pick just one. We do kind of do this cop out every time we do one of these videos.
It's
We're
fun.
sorry.
You have to. They're like for once,
But-
like we have a cycle, and they're all decent. They're all
They're
They're
good.
all
They are.
decent. These guys are
Breath of fresh air.
all. So first off, the red, white, black, and blue one are all 2 mana for decently statted creatures. A 2/2, a 2/3, a 2/1, and a 3/1, all with relevant keywords with haste, death touch, flash, and flying, and lifelink
Wow,
in their
they
respective
all have
colors.
all those keywords. Could you
And then
imagine?
the primal, yeah, right. And then the primal adversary is 3 mana for a 4/3 with trample. I have to say, personally, out of this cycle, my favorite is Intrepid Adversary, which is 1 and a white for a 3/1 human scout with lifelink. And all the adversaries have got the rules text of when they enter the battlefield, pay a cost. And the cost for Intrepid is a 1 and a white, and you can pay that any number of times you want. And when you do, put that many Valor counters on Intrepid Adversary. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each Valor counter on Intrepid Adversary. Now remember that doesn't say other creatures, so it also gets pumped for as many Valor counters as it has. Meaning, if you paid, I don't know, 6 mana, 3 white, and 3 into this thing turns into a 6/4 with lifelink. Sorry, a 5/3 with lifelink.
That's the math.
And then all your other creatures are getting +2/+2. Shannon, which one's your favorite?
Spoiler alert.
the
It's
blue
green.
one. Oh, shocker!
Right?
You're always so
So
consistent
shocking.
with your love of blue cards. I never thought that you like the green one. What
I
swayed
hate
you?
blue. Oh my god. I want blue to die. I hate blue. Coming from the green player. Anyway, so yeah, mine is the green. It's the Primal Adversary, where if you pay 1 in green any number of times, put that many +1/+1 counters, and then up to that many target lands you control become 3/3 wolf creatures with haste that are still lands.
Boy.
I think
You
the
know-
biggest takeaway from that is that does not say until end of turn. So it just turns your lands into 3/3 wolves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jasper, what's yours?
My favorite. Also, not a shocker. We're not a very surprising
Black
crowd. I think we're all very consistent in our ways. My favorite's
In our play
Bloodthirsty
styles.
Adversary. 1 in a red creature vampire with haste. You can pay 2 in a red any number of times when it enters the battlefield, and when you do, you put that many +1/+1 counters on Bloodthirsty Adversary, then exile up to that many target instant or sorcery cards with a mana value 3 or less from your graveyard and copy them. You may cast any number of these copies without paying their mana costs. So, shocker, the one that does instant and sorceries and
Yeah.
the red one are my favorite. It's like a match made in bloody heaven.
So
Also, it has
I will-
haste, so it punches things.
I will be the last, wild card technically. My favorite is not the blue one, even though I'm a blue player. My favorite is Tainted Adversary, which is the black adversary of the set here. And then when it enters the battlefield, you may pay a black and 2 any number of times. You put that many 1/1 counters on Tainted Adversary, and then you create twice that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens with Decayed. That
So-
is just fuel.
For 3 black and 5. Like, for 3 black and 5, this thing comes down as a 4/5 and creates 4 2/2 zombies with it.
Yep.
That's significant.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're all significant. And then, for let's just for consistency, let's read off the blue one.
So the final one is Spectral Adversary. For 1 and a blue, it is a 2/1 with flash and flying. And when Spectral Adversary's cost is 1 and a blue, pay it any number of times you want. When you do, you may phase out a target artifact, enchantment, or creature.
For each time
That
you
is
pay
huge
one in the
because
blue.
that could be like, hey, I have infinite mana. Here's this thing. Phase out your board. Or that could be like, oh, hey guys, by the way, vanquish the Horde, and you in response go, no, phase out some of my stuff. No.
You just Teferi's Pro, but on blue.
It's a mono blue. It can be a mono blue Teferi protection if you would like to, or it's a mono blue. Hey, I'm killing y'all.
Yep.
I think it's a very versatile card, and I think
Oh, yeah.
the blue one's nothing to sneeze. I don't think any of the adversaries or anything in
No,
their own elements. They're gonna be great.
Agreed.
Wizards, this cycle of monocolored cards
Was done very well.
Oh yeah, much better
Thumbs
than
up,
that.
you did it.
That Goad cycle or that
Yeah.
D20 cycle.
So
or
real
that
quick,
refrain cycle.
Yeah, we mentioned something. Bill mentioned this earlier in the video. Me and him were talking about this last night.
Okay, yeah.
So all 5 of the adversary cards, the artwork is they're in some type of house. We deduced, or at least we think that the house they're in is the hostile. And the reason why the hostile transforms is those 5 creatures are the sacrifice. They die inside the house, and that's what makes the house transform to the creeping in. If that is correct, I'm gonna be so proud of us that we figured that out.
Also, that is
Even
just really cool storytelling in
It is.
cards.
They all walk into this hostel, and it's just like the house goes, all right, battle royale time.
You thought Battle Bond was a set. Get ready for Innistrad.
All the adversaries either have natural weapons or have weapons. So like, imagine just like the all 5 of these creatures just duking it out inside of this creeping in crazy stuff.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like I just if that again, I hope it's canon. If it's not though, that's still my head canon.
It's a nice head canon.
Shannon, can you finish up this list with our number 1 card from Innistrad Midnight Hunt main set?
Yes, absolutely. Cue the drum roll, please. Our number 1 card is Gissa, Glorious Resurrector.
The girl's back. She lived, bitch.
And her text says, if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, put all creature cards exiled with Gissa, Glorious Resurrector, onto the battlefield under your control. They gain Decayed.
Honestly,
Wee.
Tigrid, Lorcan, any of those cards, Ghoul's Night Out, just another card in the cycle of, hey, your stuff died, and now it's my stuff. Is just the latest card in that whole thematic space, and of course she's great.
I think the biggest thing that like comparing her to Lorcan or Turgrid, I think Turgrid is just the tiniest bit better.
Yeah, I think they
learned
their
5
lesson.
mana compared to Gissa's only 4. And she's a 4/4. Like, she's not even a pushover. She beats the crap out of Tolar in his human form. That's a strong lady.
I think Giss is nothing to sneeze at in lore on a card. I don't think we've got like a bad Gissa, and this is just the latest in like, hey, if you have like a Grave Pact on board or a Dictative Erebos on board, Gissa just goes sicko mode if you untap with her.
I also think of her with the Meat Hook Massacre.
Oh God, yes.
Like you play her, you do it for 5 mana, so you -3 all the creatures, kill all of your opponent's creatures and most of your stuff, but you're gonna get their stuff back.
And I mean,
hey, I'll exchange your board. Your board
deck, you're probably gonna get most of your stuff back too.
Yeah. She is, I think, compared to a lot of the top ones we've done, like Asmodeus, which I think we've ranked him a little too high. Lorcan, which we also may have ranked a little too high. I think she is better than Lorcan. She is worse. She is not as good as Turgrid.
Yeah, I mean, Turgrid was a mistake.
She is not a pushover in any way, shape, or form.
Gissa, Glorious Resurrector, definitely, I think, out of any of the cards we've mentioned today, definitely earned her spot at number 1. I think she's an excellent commander, just an excellent card in the 99. I think running 4 copies of her in, say, like a standard deck wouldn't be a bad idea.
Say 2, but
it's 2,
anyway.
4, whatever, however many people run in standard. I think she's a great card for midnight activities. Going out on the town and massacring.
So, guys,
Anyway.
before we end this video, how do you think Wizards did with Innistrad Midnight Hunt?
To give them a letter grade, I'd say, honestly, given like the sets we've gotten over the year and a half ever since like War of the Spark, which is still, I think I'm gonna have to say, you know, solid A minus at the worst. I think this set's great. It's definitely fun, memorable, thematic.
Yep.
Lots of good tribes.
I will agree. A solid A in my opinion. They touched a lot of bases. Like when they announced this, like I know a lot of people were jonesing for it. I was one of them. Like when they announced Midnight Hunt, I'm like, please fix the werewolf mechanic. I am begging you, fix the werewolf mechanic. Give us a solid commander, and they did. They delivered, which I am happy for. Other than that, though, the mechanics are really straightforward. They're not hard to understand or anything like that. They brought back 2 classic mechanics, which is great. And they also they gave just the artwork and everything, the love they gave to the set. I think they definitely deserve an A for this one.
Oh yeah, I think out of the recent like sets they've done over like Zendikar, we've returned to Zendikar. We've had our return to Theros. We've had our return to Ravnica. I think this is the best return to set we've gotten.
Yeah.
What do you Will and Shan, what do you guys think?
I want to say probably an A minus as well.
Okay, yeah.
Even like being as like a new player, like in my mind, I think like Ikoria was like a D, and then Strixhaven was like a B.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I'm like ranking sets, and like I know I'm still learning, but yeah, no, I think it's a good set. I don't know.
What about you, Will?
So I'm gonna be the harshest one here, and I'm gonna say that Innistrad gets a solid B.
Okay,
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So my
Will the professor?
I do not go to Solarian Community College.
Let's not invoke
so we'll
his
accept
name.
admission.
I'm a patron to the prof.
So I will say this: that the reason why it's a B for me is because they did touch on a lot of stuff that is very keen to Innistrad. We did get some really cool vampires, even though this isn't the vampire set. We got some very much needed werewolves. We got some cool artifacts. We got some really nice lands. My problem with the lands is that they felt like they came out of nowhere.
To be fair, the rare land cycle always feels like it comes out of nowhere.
I
mean, like the Snarls, these hunt lands, the original fetch lands, like they just are good lands in the set. Like the temples in M21 even.
I will say that the reason why this gets a B though is, again, they did touch on a ton of bases. I think the artwork in this set is probably some of the best we've seen in probably the last 2 years. Easily, we definitely are getting something we need. A plus to the artwork of the full art basic Eternal Nightlands. Choice. But I feel like there was so many things going on. We heard all about this stuff about werewolves versus humans, and then we've got somebody like Gissa who's coming out of nowhere with zombies.
And then we've got vampires too.
It feels like they were like, hey, werewolves versus humans. Also, here's the zombie stuff.
I mean, but zombies are a key piece of Innistrad's history, though, too.
Werewolves, zombies, humans, vampires are like the 4 like
spirits.
tribes of Innistrad. So
I just felt like the set was promised to us one way, and kind of felt another.
Well, I mean, we only have one half of the story for Innistrad.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you think your rating will change when we have the other half of the set, or the sequel set, and we have the rest of the story?
No, I'm going to be judging Crimson Vow on its own merits because it is going to be doing something different. We are watching a war of Sorin objecting to the wedding of, realistically, his grandfather, Edgar Markov, and Olivia Valderin, which is going to be quite interesting. And
it's a trap.
I just think that will be a set I have to judge on its own. I don't expect the art to be like, I'm not like, well, the art in that set's going to tank. No, I expect the art to be amazing in that
Magic sets.
But my favorite Planeswalker's in that set, so I'm going to be very scrutinizing.
He's allegedly in this
He's in this set too.
He's mentioned, yes, in one of my other favorite cards, Fateful Absence.
I can't wait to see the Sorin Planeswalker.
No, he was on that card when he was like
Fateful Absence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Fateful Absence. Oh no, Granddad got out. Where is he?
To be fair, like Kaya's also on a card, and Chandra's on a card.
Chandra's also on a card. Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm hoping to see the new Chandra in the next set.
We might.
So I just, a B is still passing. I still think this is a good set. I'm excited for pre-release at the end of the week that we're filming this.
I think for one thing, before we conclude, is that if we can give an A+ to anything going forward about this set, is that when this set releases, Standard will finally be safe again. We're losing Eldraine, Theros, Ikoria, M21. It's all going away. I'm safe.
Might actually get me onto Arena.
Yeah, that's
kind of been Arena again.
That's been the deterrent for me for Arena. The sets that it's just been too nutty. Like, I prefer physical Magic personally, also because we play Commander more. So I'm not a Standard player. I'll play Brawl.
I used to be a Standard player, then Eldraine happened, and now I'm off my hiatus. We're back.
Well, with all of that taken into consideration, guys, thank you for joining us today for our favorite cards from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Again, if you disagree with anything on our list, think we rank something too high or too low, get in those comments and tell us what you think should be happen. Tell us what you're excited for, what you think this set deserves. Find us on all forms of social media. Find us anywhere you can find your podcast needs. And until next time, thanks for watching.
Have a lovely night, everybody.
Bye.
See yous.